Welcome to the XO Podcast. I'm your host, Brent Evans, president of MarriageToday. With me today is Sean Reed.
What's going on, Brent?
Co-founder of Not Just Roommates with his wife, Lynette.
Mm-hmm. And I'm fired up about today. This is going to be awesome.
And what are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about sex.
Well, that means you've been searching for sex all week.
Well, I've got to bring some news articles today, so I've just been doing a little light research in a good way.
Yeah, we got a notification from our IT guy. You were flagged.
Great. No, sex and marriage is what I'm searching.
What you search for?
Well, we actually just got back from our XO conference in Oklahoma City, and Sean and Lynette did a session there on sex.
Yeah, man. We were talking about how to achieve sexual intimacy.
Yes.
Right?
It was
Closeness
great.
Sexually. And so we're going to get into all kind of stuff today. I think this podcast is going to be interesting. We're going to talk about chore play.
All right. Well, we're talking about sex today on the podcast. We've got a lot of information for you that's going to be helpful. We have an interview coming up with Dave and Ashley Willis. It's also got some great stuff about sex. We know at MarriageToday that a lot of people and couples struggle with this topic. It's something that when you start off in a relationship, oftentimes it's good, and then you go through hard times and you find that there's some bumps in the road. So we know that there's some opportunities here for you to learn some things. We want to make it practical and something easy for you to apply. We have a great show coming up, but first we're going to talk about date night. We have a policy here at MarriageToday, not an official policy. I don't know if we have it like on the door somewhere, but we do believe in date nights. We believe that every couple should be in the habit of having a date night, and we have partnered with Datebox. This is a company that sends you, it's a subscription service, a date box every month. It comes to you. You don't have to continually reorder it. It just comes to you every month in the mail. It makes date night easy. So this last date box that I saw had some massage oil in it.
And a do not disturb sign.
And a do not disturb sign.
Oh my.
And that was very unique. So they do a different theme every month. This one was obviously a little bit more hands-on. And you can do something very fun with your spouse.
Really?
But they do everything from cooking to other activities that you can do with your spouse. Every month is different. So go to getdatebox.com, use the promo code XOPodcast, and you get your first month free. All you have to do is pay $5 for shipping. Go to getdatebox.com and check them out.
Now, from God's perspective, what is great sex? Like, is it all about the position, right? Like, are some positions more holy than others? Like, does God look at one position in the bedroom and is frowned upon?
Right.
Or does he smile at other positions, you know, and say, now there's my baby, that's holy, right? I mean, is it about the frequency of sex? If we do it more often or if we do it less, would it be better? Honestly, I really don't believe that the physical position in the bedroom is God's focus at all. I do believe, however, that God is very interested in the position of your heart.
Right.
Since we are more than physical beings, we're heart, we're soul, mind, body, spirit, all of that. I believe that the best sex that you can have is when your heart and your mind and your body are all together functioning on the focus of the heart of the other person. It's when you get to a place to where in the position of sex, it is, yes, physical, and it should be pleasurable, but the pursuit within the bedroom, the pursuit of your passion is not necessarily just what you can get from the other person's body, but it's the pursuit of the person within the body.
We are talking about sex today. Fun subject.
We are. We've got one news sex article, but our first one today actually isn't about sex, but it's really interesting. A discovery was made by a group that did a study of over 2 million marriages over the course of 10 years. So this was a widespread study. They looked at a lot of marriages, and they found that parents with teen daughters are over 10% more likely to get divorced. And this hits home for me because I'm one of 3 girls. My parents raised 3 teenage daughters. I have 2 baby girls that will eventually be teenagers. And the thought that just the fact that they're teenage girls could put me at more risk of getting divorced is pretty crazy. But this group found that parents of teenage daughters disagreed more about the way they're raising their children, and that they had worse family relationships, and that particularly the daughter and father relationships are different. But the craziest thing to me about this article is that this statistic goes away entirely if the husband had a sister. So if you are a man and you have teenage daughters and you had a sister, you're not more likely to get divorced. But if you had no sister, you're 10% more likely to get divorced. Is that not so weird?
It's just like guys don't know how to relate to girls unless they've had some prior experience.
Yeah, maybe. Did your dad have a sister?
Yeah, he had 2 sisters.
Okay, that helps.
Cole had 3 sisters. Cole's my husband. He had 3 sisters. But it's just shocking to me. I don't know if it has something to do with like really just not understanding girls, and then that puts strain on your marriage. But you need to watch out if you've got teenage daughters. You're at a higher risk. But 10% is a lot higher risk.
Well, I think a guy could probably be stronger with his boys. Like if he didn't have a sister, let's say he's just a guy that just deals with things in a guy's perspective, not knowing how to really deal with a girl, like a teenage girl, especially when they're going through all their emotional times and
it's becoming very hormonal time.
Yes. Not understanding that dynamic and just kind of having this, military type of man thing where you're just trying to get people to fall in line and get the job done.
Oh, no, I had 3 sisters. I didn't think about that part. But I did have 3 sisters. At one point, I was living with my mom and my 3 sisters, and my brothers were all out. Wow. And so I was girl trapped. And so I also had my son first, and now I have 2 girls, and both of them are teenagers. So I kind of can relate a little bit to the huge difference between raising my son as opposed to my girls. They're all close in age, so I'm still right there in the thick of, okay, you're teens and I know what I'm dealing with, so I can speak like firsthand to say there's a huge difference between raising boys and girls.
Right.
All good, love them all. I don't prefer my boy over my girls, you know what I mean? But I do have a different kind of relationship with all of them, uniquely so.
Well, do you feel like you've had more conflict with Lynette over issues with the girls than you have with the boy?
I feel like we've had more difficulty with the girls than the boy. I can take the boy and play basketball, right? And we can spend time together differently, whereas with my girls, there's a lot that's going on. There's a lot of emotions going on.
Yeah.
Even though my son is the most emotional in the house. That's shocking. He's the most emotional in the house. But my girls is just a different thing. So here's something. It was a piece of marriage advice that was given to us. We applied it. I think it works. There was an older couple. They've been married for like over 50 years. They gave us some wisdom. They had 6 girls.
Wow.
And they made it. And what they encouraged us to do is once our girls became teenagers, that my wife should step back a little bit and let me take the lead with raising our girls.
Wow.
As teenagers. And that put this burden on me to learn to communicate with my girls better, to take them out on daddy-daughter dates, spend quality time with them, and help them navigate through the difficulties that they were going through in life. And it also prevented my wife and I kind of getting into little spats about how strong I should have been with them, how more sensitive I need to be at a certain moment. And so we're kind of working on that dynamic, and it actually helped us out tremendously.
It's good advice. I mean, it's kind of cliched to say somebody has daddy issues, a girl who's maybe gone off the tracks or is not living life in the right way, but it's really true. I mean, the father relationship's really important.
Absolutely. Yeah, my girls needed me to be different for them once they got older.
Yeah.
And I needed to lead them, protect them, and at the same time give them a sense of strength and support. And so in listener land, I would encourage you, if you're kind of at that place, I wouldn't be afraid. I would be aware of the fact that there's a higher probability of divorce, but we believe in 100% success, right? If we do it God's way. I do believe that a father has to lead when it comes to, especially with girls, they have to lead when it comes to parenting. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, my dad always talks about how whenever a girl becomes a teenager, she sees their mother as another woman. They don't see her as the mother anymore. So you're talking about a mom trying to tell her daughter what to do and how to dress and kind of how to act. It becomes a cat fight. And so a father has to step up and do the all of the leading and putting the foot down when it needs to be put down, but also being sensitive. And it's important. I didn't realize the divorce statistics are so high, though.
It's really crazy, really interesting, and that if you have a sister, you're off the hook. I just thought that was fascinating. Now we're going to talk about sex. Just what you wanted. Let's dive into a topic about health and how it can be improved through sex. Okay, this article comes from thespruce.com, and they're making some claims.
I just had a thought when you first said that.
What?
We need to do more reps. You go to the gym and you get healthier when you're lifting weights and all the rest of that, so I get healthier by having sex.
Oh yeah, it makes you healthier. They're saying you need to do it more often because it can cure your headaches, that there's emotional and physical benefits to it.
Somebody told me it was the equivalent of running 5 miles.
I don't know about that. 5 miles?
You burn as many calories during the act of sex as you do.
I don't know what kind of sex you're having to 5 miles worth of calories.
I think that's the question.
Oh my gosh. Okay, but they had some pretty interesting information. So even just on the emotional level, some of the benefits of having sex frequently would be that it boosts your self-esteem, makes you feel younger, it keeps you connected emotionally, reduces your risk of illness. So it's literally like getting a flu vaccine, having sex more often. Offers pain relief, improves your posture, which I thought was interesting. Okay. Healthier teeth. The key to a better smile is more frequent sex. Who knew? But some of the
don't go there, John.
But that's some of the physical benefits and some of the other physical
trying
benefits.
to understand how the hygiene goes to the teeth.
I don't know if it's because maybe you brush more often because you want to have fresh breath.
Okay, sure.
I don't know.
I hope that's why.
Less frequent colds and flus. I mean, there's a lot of benefits. You can say an apple a day keeps the doctor away, but maybe it's not just an apple.
Well.
Maybe it's more than an apple.
This is fantastic.
I'm trying to say the right thing. I don't want to offend anybody in the EXO podcast listener base. Okay.
The moral of the story is that science is behind having sex more frequently and that it can make you healthier, it's going to give you a better smile, and it's going to improve your life overall.
Amen to that.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. We will post the link on the show notes, but if you want to either have it's a high risk, high reward. Just send the article to your spouse and just see what happens. You may either get back a fight, or you might have the best sex of your life after that for a long period of time.
Try it for yourself and see if it improves, then share it.
Yes.
Okay, those are good. We have a lot more to talk about here at the EXO Podcast. We have Ashley and Dave Willis with us today, joining us via Skype. That's coming up next.
Most men are visually stimulated.
Amen.
Most men. That's not to say all, but most of them
How many men are visually stimulated in this room? By show of hands. You see all these hands all over the room?
All right, so what does that mean for us ladies? That means we got to show off. They love all of this.
All of that.
And so you have to be willing to show it off. So
Yes, Lord.
I know we have those days when we're like cleaning and we just want to wear like sweats and, our hair may be pulled back. Some guys might like that. But then sometimes just clean the house in some shorts.
Yeah.
Y'all
know what Daisy Dukes are down here in Arizona?
I didn't say Daisy Dukes. I just said
it.
shorts.
I'm trying to help my
thinking
brethren
that you guys
out.
would know what I was talking
All my
about.
brothers who happy in this room, make some noise. Make some noise. Thank you, Jesus.
All right, so in other words, you got to stay chaseable.
Yes.
Welcome back to the EXO Podcast. You just heard from Sean and Lynette Reed talking about sex and marriage today. Sean, Mr. Sean, Rollover Sex Reed.
I think that's the best nickname ever.
You guys do a great job of talking about sex at our conferences. It was a really great session. But also, Dave and Ashley Willis are a part of the podcast today. We're going to be talking with them about sex. They have a new book out called The Naked Truth About Sex and Marriage. It's just brand new. It's straight out of the presses. Dave and Ashley Willis, welcome to the podcast.
Hey guys, great to be here.
We're going to talk about a lot of things, but first and foremost, you guys have 4 boys, so you know about sex, correct? You know how to make babies.
We do. We don't know how to make baby girls, but we do know how to make babies. So
Good. We all have a new book out called The Naked Truth About Sex and Marriage, and it's just coming out, so we want to talk about that. First and foremost, what is your take on quickies? Is that something y'all preach and practice?
well, I mean, in the 2 minutes before the podcast began. No, I'm just kidding. But
we're a fan.
Yeah,
Because you have to be in this season.
that's right.
So yeah.
It's
Well, I
nice.
thought I would make an awkward subject even more awkward right out of the beginning.
I specialize in awkward moments. It's one of my spiritual gifts. So happy to talk about whatever. But practically, I mean, I think ideally you need to have uninterrupted time to really just connect in all ways. But sometimes in this busy season of life, if you're raising kids, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, we've got a narrow little window of time. Let's go lock the door and make the most of the time we have.
Awesome, absolutely. I also loved in the introduction of the book you talked about how at Thanksgiving you should go around the table. When it comes to you, what you're most thankful for, you should tell your grandmother, I am thankful for sex, that God made sex. I'm going to try that this year.
I'm half serious. I mean, really, even more than half serious. I think, especially in the church, it's been one of these things that we're scared to talk about. Like it's somehow dirty or God's not for it. And I think as Christians, we've got to just reclaim it and say, look, God created this. It's one of the best things he ever created. And the world has taken it and kind of like used it in the wrong kinds of ways. But we need to reclaim it and share what it's meant to be, which is just something absolutely beautiful and something that we should be thankful for, and something that we should be able to do like we're doing right now, which is to have open, life-giving, practical conversations about it.
Well, I know at Marriage Today, it's one of the main things that people struggle with. I mean, obviously it's fun. Everybody loves marriage and sex when it's going well, but so many things can go wrong with sex in your sex life. So talk about, y'all minister to couples all the time. You talk to couples. Talk about some of the most common issues that couples have with their sex life and how to overcome those.
Usually we hear from people where there's not necessarily been like a huge catastrophic event, I mean, we certainly hear from people with those kind of problems, but it usually boils down to just, one partner not really being into it anymore and kind of losing interest in sex because of being too tired or being too busy or just feeling like they're not attracted to their spouse anymore. It's that kind of thing, like they've become tired of it. And that's something where, that seems pretty harmless, and I think we tell ourselves it's just for a season, but we've literally seen this almost ruin marriages and sometimes ruin marriages. And so it's so important that when we find ourselves kind of in that spot where we're just kind of bored with things and we're, not wanting to have sex with our spouse, that's a red flag, and we need to address it. We need to get to the root of the issue and be concerned about it and not kind of brush it off.
That's so true. Yeah. You got to be able to talk about these things. And a lot of times couples just stop communicating about it.
Right.
And then they drift further and further apart.
So in the course of your marriage, have you guys encountered in your own sex life the valleys that maybe y'all have had to kind of work through to get, kind of get past? I want to be very careful about the words I use. Let's say dry season of marriage, but I don't really know how else to say it. But is there? I mean, I know after you have babies or when you're pregnant or maybe like you're in a season where you're busy with the kids, what are some things that y'all practice in a very, you're in your bedroom right now, so I don't even want to.
Our bedroom. No,
the bed's made.
Totally. I mean, we've definitely had, seasons where, like, I'll be real honest about this. I talk about this in the book specifically, but there's been seasons where I saw sex as kind of a chore on my list, like another thing that I needed to do. And it had really, in my mind, nothing to do with my attraction to Dave. It was just that I felt like there was so much to do. I was, at the time when I was facing this, I was probably nursing a baby. And then I had everything in the house to do. And then I had other things to do. And it was just like, I felt like there was never enough time in the day. So by the time Dave, would get home from work and he'd be like, hey, baby, I'd be like, can you go do some laundry? Because I'm exhausted and I have spit up all over me and I don't feel sexy, And so I really had to work through that. And that's something that I want to talk openly, especially with women. Not that women are the only ones who can kind of be uninterested or too tired for sex at times. But I want to talk to women about this because I do think it's common. I think that we can compartmentalize sex as something to do on the list. And once we kind of see it that way, it really takes the beauty of sex, out of it. Because it's not just something to do. I mean, we are totally engaging with our spouse here. It's a beautiful thing. It's a way that we can connect with our spouse like nothing else can. And so I really had to retrain my mind to see sex as a beautiful gift in a way that I can serve my husband. Even when I wasn't necessarily feeling it at the time, like I wasn't maybe in a romantic mood, I knew that for the sake of our marriage and staying connected, I needed to overcome that thought that it was just another thing to do on the list.
And one thing we learned, and it's not just in our marriage, but like, science and research and surveys have kind of backed this up, that for most men see sex as a form of stress relief. Like when a man is stressed out, his sex drive actually increases. Right. But when a woman gets stressed out, her sex drive plummets. Mm-hmm. And so like God wired us up in these opposite ways. And if you don't understand this about each other, it can lead to a whole bunch of frustration because like when we're in a stressful season, like I want to do it more, and she's like, wait a second, my mind is so far from that. Like, and so as a husband, I've realized if I can do things to help take things off her plate, things that on her to-do list, because I can, as a guy, have a one-track mind and like, let's just go to the bedroom. But for her, she's thinking about all these other things that need to be done. So if I can help out, I've learned that I'm never more attracted to her than when I'm like doing the dishes or doing laundry. You know, we call it chore play.
I love her enthusiasm behind that. Chore play?
Instead of foreplay, it's chore play.
I love it.
It works.
Okay, so if a couple is struggling right now, how do they get to a place to where they can even identify with kind of where they are, whether they're plummeting or they're excited about having sex and in need of it more and more and more? How do you get to that place where you can even begin to have the conversation about the naked truth about sex and marriage?
I think a lot of it is just being willing to talk about it. We'll get messages where people are sharing stuff with us online that they haven't even verbalized to their spouse because they feel like, well, I don't want to start an argument or I don't want to hurt feelings. And we say, look, you know, God called us to have a naked marriage. When he created that first couple, they were naked in the garden. And that's not just a picture of physical nakedness that he wants us to have, but he wants us to be emotionally, spiritually naked. And nakedness means I've got nothing to hide from you. I want to be totally transparent, totally vulnerable, and be able to talk about anything with you. And the best way to grow in being able to communicate about sex is just to have that naked marriage, to say, look, I want no secrets. I want our feelings all out on the table. I want to be able to work through anything together. And if we can connect on that level, then a natural outflow of that is going to be that we're also going to connect in the bedroom, specifically in the sexual part of our relationship. But we're going to grow deeper in these other areas of our relationship as well. And so it just starts with having the courage to talk about it, to say, you know, how do you feel like we're doing in this part of our marriage? What could I do? And it's a vulnerable question to ask, like, what could I do to bring more fulfillment to you in that part of our marriage? And then just start the conversation. And that's kind of what the book, one of the things we wanted the book to help do is just to help spark some of those conversations. When people read stuff and say, we're not the only ones who are going through this. Right. There are other people who are having these same struggles, these same conversations. And if it can spark some conversations that a couple's not having, then I think that that's a great step in the right direction.
And I think, too, you know, Sean, you were kind of asking, like, how do you know? Like, when do you kind of know that maybe this really does need to be addressed? And I think one red flag is if you're just not having sex regularly, because I think as a couple, it needs to be happening regularly. Absolutely. You know, we get the question a lot, you know, how many times do we need to be having it a week? And I say that's a little bit different per couple, but the main point here is that it needs to be regularly, because not only just to fulfill each other's needs, but also to protect one another from temptation. You know, we're, as a married couple, we're the only two people that are supposed to be fulfilling each other's sexual needs, not anything outside the bedroom, and certainly no other person. And so we are not serving each other in that way, then we're really opening ourselves up to temptation. And so we really need to be able to talk about that. And like Dave said, if we approach it from a how can I serve you standpoint instead of this is how you can serve me, I think it really keeps the line of communication open.
So the book comes out when is the release date?
Well, it's just come out. It's so new that we don't even have a copy to show you, but it's available on Amazon right now. It's got kind of a couple under the bed sheets, you know, with the sheets pulled up, a quote from Brent Evans, president of MarriageToday.
It's going to sell a lot of copies now.
That's right.
And so
you're going to shoot to the top.
So it's already out. People can, if they have Kindle Unlimited, they can read it for free. Through that, they can get the paperback on Amazon. And, you know, we just hope it sparks conversations.
It's great. It's a good subject, and y'all are definitely the right people to talk about it. You'll have so much good information on it. I know the book was really made to be kind of comprised of a lot of articles, so it's a quick read. I mean, you can really kind of pick and choose the chapters that you want to read based upon the topics. I was impressed with that. I think that's a great way to put into formats these days, because, you know, people are scatterbrained and they're kind of moving around. They kind of want to pick and choose their topics sometimes.
Book full of quickies.
It is a book full of quickies.
That's right.
Good. All right, Dave and Ashley, thanks for being a part of it today. Give me a URL that we could put up for our listeners. Where can they go to find out more about you guys and your ministry?
They can go to daveandashleywillis.com.
Okay. daveandashleywillis.com. There's about a million ways to spell Ashley, but we'll make sure.
That's right. And if you go there, there's a free 31-day marriage devotional right on the homepage of our website. Just the kind of the Bible verses and scriptures that have helped us the most in our marriage, and it's just a free resource we like to make available to folks. So that's a freebie you can get.
All right, thanks to Dave and Ashley Willis for being a part of the podcast today. Their book, The Naked Truth About Sex and Marriage, is available. Go to daveandashleywillis.com for their devotional they just talked about, the 31-day devotional. It's free. There's no excuses to do that. That's something that's practical for you and your spouse to do right now. Appreciate that being a part of the podcast. Dave and Ashley, have a great day.
Thank you guys
Thanks,
for having
guys.
us.
Thanks for having us.
Imagine a relaxing, adventurous cruise among glaciers, mountains, and charming fishing villages, combined with life-changing marriage teaching from Jimmy Evans. Set sail June 29th to July 6th, 2018 on the XO Marriage Cruise to Alaska. Unforgettable views, luxurious accommodations, and 8 days of romance in one of the most scenic parts of North America. Book your stateroom now at xomarriage.com/cruise.
Here at the XO Podcast, we like to do a little something called The Worst.
The worst.
Where we talk about the worst possible example of something. And today we're going to be talking about the worst proposals. How would you feel if somebody proposed to you with a flash mob? I don't feel like this is the worst.
Wasn't that a trend for a while?
Yes. I guess maybe it's outdated, but I would feel really honored. That's a lot of people that learned to dance for my proposal.
I see those flash mobs, and the thought of the orchestration of those things, it just boggles my mind.
You got to really want to dance. Like, you're going to rehearsals with a bunch of people for somebody else's event.
I don't know, maybe for somebody they see it as like, you know how like on Thriller, all of a sudden at the end, everybody's kind of dancing with Michael and everything, and it's like cool but freaky at the same time. Maybe a little overwhelming.
Another worst proposal would be as part of a fake arrest.
Fail.
Any pranking kind of proposal is just asking for trouble.
You got that right.
Yeah, but the handcuffs, no.
Oh, it is the XO Sex Show. How about at a sporting event on the big screen?
So Sean said he didn't understand why that was a bad thing, but
Yeah, I thought it was brilliant. They show you up on a big screen, put the little heart kissing camera thing around you.
Yeah, but it's like thousands of screaming fans, and she's like, yes, and he's like, what? Yes, I love you. Okay, yes, I love you.
Or
Okay,
you were talking about
sometimes they say no.
and it's on the screen.
It's on the screen, and you see, and that becomes like the whole news story is some guy getting dejected in front of thousands of people.
I know, it's horrible enough if somebody rejects a kiss on the kiss cam, but if you turn down a proposal, you're national news for a week. I guess in front of your partner's family could be a worse proposal if it doesn't go as planned, or maybe if your family hates you. How about at Disneyland? On a ride, how about on Splash Mountain?
Oh, that's a bad idea.
Or with some characters.
Yeah. Do adults still go to Disneyland by themselves?
Yeah, for their honeymoon.
Oh, really?
It's a thing with like the they walk around with the veil and the hat and
Yeah.
it's a thing.
It's too hot.
Interesting.
How about at the mall? Proposing at the mall. The mall, there's nothing more romantic than a mall proposal.
That's the worst.
That's the worst.
How about on social media?
No.
At Caitlin Edwards, would you marry me? We talked about it last week. It's not true love unless you say it on social media.
That's true.
Is that a cop-out, though?
Yes, it's like a text breakup. You can't propose on social media. It's the worst.
Do you know anybody that's proposed on social media?
No, but there's probably somebody listening who has, and we're very sorry.
Your marriage will make it. You have a 100% chance of success, even if you've said yes.
On social media. God bless you if you did. Shoot us a praise report.
Somewhere dangerous, I guess. Maybe not while skydiving or on the beach.
No, I'm not going to do it. I don't know how you focus on that in bungee. My wife and I, we went bungee jumping. There was no time for a proposal.
No.
I guarantee it.
Between the blood screaming, blood
it's
curdling
just like,
scream and the
Yeah.
jerk of the hand with the ring flying.
And you get down, would you marry me?
The worst.
We've had a good time talking about sex today. Sean, Caitlin,
Yeah.
I hope you learned something about sex you can take home.
I learned a lot. I'm going to apply chore play more often. And I want to be healthier. And so I'm going to talk to my wife about more reps.
Who needs to run 5 miles when you can just...
I mean, it's great for our
For the
calorie
sake of dental
burn.
hygiene.
Yes.
I mean,
Who knew that doing God's will could be so beneficial? And I think sex is God's will.
it is God's will.
On a serious note, I want to encourage all our couples out there to remember that God created sex to be a tool to help us get closer to one another, physically, but also spiritually. It is literally something you can do by faith that renews your wedding vows. So we thank God for the awesome ceremonies and everything else like that. But when you actually have sex with your spouse, you are saying, you are mine, I belong to you. And that's something that's a really powerful tool when you have so many things that are pulling on you, exhausting your energy, things trying to separate, marriages and couples and everything else. Like, this becomes something that just reinforces the vow. It cements the relationship. And so just keep in mind that it's a very, very, very powerful tool. My wife said something the other day that was really powerful, but she said that sex almost becomes a tool that you can use almost like spiritual warfare. And it helps you in the fight to keep your marriage strong and healthy. So do it, and do it often.
It's good. All right, well, Sean and Lynette had a session this last week, and we talked about that. Their stuff is on YouTube. If you want to go onto our YouTube page, check out some of their sex teachings from the EXO conference. We've got those listed there. We'll be posting those links to our page and to those clips on our site and on the show notes. We have a great time here talking about sex at the EXO podcast. We hope that this has been helpful for you. We love coming to you every week with information. We'll be back next time. See you next time at the EXO podcast.